Hello, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to analyze Jungkook's birth chart. Jungkook is a member of a band, K-pop band called BTS, and he's actually one of the most popular members. So I wanted to see what makes him so popular. What can we see in his chart that maybe indicates that? And other things about his personality, because I think everybody wants to know a little bit more about this guy, right? So, Jungkook, as you can see here, he was born on 1st September in 1997 in Busan, Korea. And supposedly he was born at 8:04 a.m., but nobody really knows for sure. No official sources have confirmed this. This is just a speculation. But from what I see in this chart, it's pretty accurate. So let's get into it. First of all, he is a Libra ascendant, and his Venus is over here in the first house, in Libra too, right? So his chart ruler, according to this time, this chart ruler is actually Venus, and Venus is over here in his first house, ruling his entire life. So it's in a very healthy placement and a very lucky placement, in my opinion. Because, well, people with ascendant in Libra are lucky in general. Like, they're so lucky because Libra is the sign of beauty. And when it's in your ascendant, it's controlling your entire life. It's controlling your physical aspect, it's controlling your face, your body. So, I mean, these people are just pretty, right? They have a pretty face. And even if they are not considered stereotypically pretty, like they may not be the standard beauty that we are accustomed to see, but there's still something about them that just makes people feel attracted to them. They're just always beautiful, even if it's not the standard of beauty. You know what I'm saying? And Jungkook, he really has that luck going on for him, and it's kind of doubling because Venus, right, the planet of beauty, is over here in the sign of beauty in his first house, which rules his appearance. So he really has beauty, charisma, and charm, even if he's not considered beautiful. There's something about him that makes him attractive, right? And this is just being objective. I'm not just saying this because I think he's attractive. Like, it's what astrology is saying, guys. Anyways, as you can see here, here in his aspects, his Venus is actually trining with Jupiter as well. So Jupiter, everything Jupiter touches gets bigger, it gets better, it just enhances that. So that's pretty much just enhancing his Venus, making him even more charismatic, even more charming, even more beautiful, right? I mean, beautiful in a way. Obviously, beauty is subjective, but it's just whatever. Anyways, if we go on his chart, we can see here he has Mars in his second house in Scorpio. So what I think this is, this Scorpio is quite a possessive sign. It's kind of jealous sign. And here in the second house, it's the house of materials. So he's kind of like, he's a bit, his things are his things, right? He doesn't like people going around touching his things. He likes to have, he's possessive over his material things. So, like, not, physical things, like maybe something that he bought, something that he earned with his own money. He's like, I bought that, that is mine, don't touch that. And I think he talked about it in an interview or something. He just doesn't like people touching his things. It's like he has a very strong sense of possession over material things. This also kind of gives him a lot of energy. I think Scorpio is a very intense sign, and Mars is the sign of, like, physical activity. So he has a lot of energy. He's very intense. Maybe he has like a lot of energy some days, and some days it's just like he just wants to go to sleep, because Scorpio is kind of either one extreme or the other. Here I can see his Mars in his aspect is squaring Jupiter. So Jupiter is kind of what makes things bigger, as I said, and is squaring, so it's not a very good relation. So I think the reason he's so possessive over things is because he's scared he's gonna lose them, right? Because Jupiter talks about having more things, like growing, and he's kind of like scared it's not working very well. So he's kind of scared of losing things. So maybe he bought something and he doesn't want anyone to ruin it, so he's just like, don't touch it. You know what I'm saying? This is all just astrology. I'm not saying he can grow, he can change, but deep down he's always gonna feel a little bit like that. Moving on, let's go here to his more filled part of his chart, which is the 12th house and a little bit of the 11th. So here in the 12th house we have two planets in Virgo in the 12th house. So man, he's just a Virgo. Like, what can I say? Virgos are so perfectionist. They have very high expectations. They want everything to be perfect, and especially they want themselves to be perfect. They are very harsh on themselves. Like, they have high expectations for others, but especially for them. They want to be perfect. They want to do things right. They really want just perfection. What can I say? Here in the 12th house, these are not working exactly in the best that they could be, because everything that touches the 12th house is kind of, it's not working perfectly. The 12th house has a weird vibe to it. And he has this Mercury in Virgo, which is a very healthy placement. He could be very persuasive and very interesting, very talkative person, but it's in retrograde and it's in the 12th house. So I think he's kind of insecure. He's very insecure about what he says. He doesn't want to say the wrong thing ever. You know, Virgo wants to be perfect, so he definitely does not want to say the wrong thing. He's kind of always thinking, oh, what if I say something wrong? What if I do this and people don't like it? He's very insecure. He could be a really good communicator, but he isn't, or he wasn't, because of he's not in a very good place. Obviously, with astrology, we can all grow. Astrology is just a lesson, right? So everyone can grow, and maybe he's not like that anymore. He can grow past this. Maybe he did. It's just he was kind of born with it. So next thing is something that I think is very interesting, is his Leo moon, because his Leo moon gives him like kind of an attitude, you know, like this confidence, this motivation. It kind of brings him that little pump. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, this moon in Leo, it gives him a lot of confidence, you know, because everything else in his chart, like the Virgo, Libra, it's kind of very low-key. It's kind of more about giving other people what they want, and his Leo moon just kind of is like, no man, I gotta do what I want too. You know, it's kind of giving him a little bit of self, like, I don't want to say self-love, but like self-confidence, you know. It gives him a little sense of self, you know, because if it wasn't for this, he wouldn't have the confidence that he has, you know. We all know him as kind of like this person who does everything right all the time, and I think he has his Leo moon just kind of, imagine that he's like working out or doing something, dancing, whatever he does, and he feels like it's too hard. it's his Leo moon that makes him think, no, I can do this, I'm the best, I can do this, I got this. And it gets him moving forward. This Mars here also helps him, but of course the moon is more powerful than Mars, so this kind of work together in a way that is good for him, because if it wasn't for this, he wouldn't be so out there, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I keep saying that. Next, I want to talk about, oh yeah, his moon. Talking about his moon, it's in his 11th house. 11 is the house of friends, of groups, so he feels really well. He needs to be inserted, like, in some sort of group. Doesn't matter which group. We all know which one it is now, because we know him, but he just needs to feel at home in a group of friends. It could be, if you know someone who has this placement, it could be like a church, it could be friends, school, whatever, any sort of thing that is bigger than one person, that is bigger than yourself. So he feels really well inserted in a group, and obviously in the group that he is now, he is kind of meant to be, right? I think he really was meant to be. In all of the members' charts, you can see something that indicates that it really was meant to be for them to be together. But I will talk more about that later in this video. So, he really feels well inserted in a group, but because he has two of his most important planets in the 12th house, he likes being in a group, but he needs to be alone to figure himself out. He needs some time alone to think, to grow. Like, time alone is very important for him, because he just needs to figure things out by himself. Like, people are not always going to be there to tell him what to do, tell him who he is. He needs to figure out who he is. The sun, who he is by himself. He needs to do that alone. And this can also indicate that he is in his thoughts all the time. He's always in his head. He daydreams a lot, probably. Also, the moon in the 11th makes a person daydream a lot. Their heads is always in the clouds. His head is always in the clouds, You can see that sometimes. I also want to talk about, of course, a very important thing, which is the midheaven. Not many people know what midheaven does, but it's very important. And the midheaven is kind of what you want to be. Midheaven is the sign. If you could choose to be one sign, you would choose to be the sign that's in your midheaven. That's true for me. That's true for most people. And Jungkook kind of aspires to be a bit more like a Cancer, so a bit more, I don't know how to explain this, but he wants to be more emotional, because in his chart we can see there really is nothing that indicates that he deals well with emotions. He just kind of probably feels awkward about it. He doesn't want to talk about his feelings. It's kind of something that's not very in him, but he wishes it was, because Cancer talks a lot about feelings, That's why he listens to a lot of emotional music. He listens to a lot of, Charlie Puth and all of that. He wishes he could express his feelings a little bit better. He's growing towards it. Astrology, as I said, is all about growing. Second part, now I want to talk about Jungkook's past. So Jungkook has a child. Jungkook as a child, his childhood, what it was like. We have a few indicators here of his childhood, and I will teach you how to see them. First of all, if you want to know about someone's childhood, you should see the 4th house. The 4th house is the house of the mother, the house of, your home, growing up, all of that. So, a very interesting thing that I really like in his charts is that he has his Uranus in the 4th house, so that means his childhood was definitely not normal. Like, his family growing up was not normal. It's not bad. It's definitely not a bad thing. it's just not like everybody else. And we all know why this is. I mean, Jungkook started practicing with BTS from a very young age. I think he was maybe 13 or something. He was very young, so he kind of feels like for him BTS really was his family. And here we can see in this chart that his family was definitely not ordinary, not normal. Not, as I said, it's not bad, it's just different from most people, right? I mean, most people aren't in a band so when they're a kid, especially. So we can also see here that Jungkook was a very shy child. He was very how do you say it? He was very into himself, like kind of closed off. He didn't really like to share things. He didn't like to share his feelings. He was very, because Neptune is kind of like, he's always a little bit alone. He's always different than everybody else. He's always alone, always doing his thing. And Jungkook was a bit like that as a child. He was very alone, very closed off emotionally. I think his childhood was very strict too, because it's here in Capricorn. And it makes sense, because as he was in a band, he was probably told what to do all the time, like do this, do that, do that. So Capricorn is a bit strict. Maybe it felt like that a little bit, and that's why he was shy as a kid. He didn't like to share his emotions, and he still kind of doesn't, but he's learning. But, you know, that's how he was as a kid. He was very shy. He probably started liking art from a very young age, because Neptune also talks a lot about art. Capricorn is a very artsy sign, especially music. Capricorn is very into music. And Jungkook has his Neptune here, which is the planet of the arts in music. Maybe that's a connection. I just made that, yeah, I just thought about that. We also have his Pluto here in the 3rd house, and we can tell a lot about a person's childhood trauma from the Pluto. And Pluto being in the 3rd house, which is the house of communication, the house of talking, communication. He probably felt like nobody listened to him when he was a kid. He felt like nobody cared about what he had to say because he was younger, he was just a kid. People were like, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a kid. He probably felt like that. And, when someone feels like that as a kid, usually when they grow up, they just want to be heard. And Jungkook I think he felt like that a little bit. I think that's all we can say about his childhood from his birth chart. So let's move on to part number 3, which is Jungkook's future and his relationships. Okay, so the house of relationships is the 7th house. If you want to, know more about someone's relationships, always check the 7th house, Venus, Mars, and the whole chart. It always helps. So, his chart is, sorry, his 7th house is over here in Aries, and Aries, very fun sign, so he probably wants, sort of like a dynamic relationship, right? But I see some things that are not so good for him, because this Saturn is over here in the 7th house. It's in retrograde. He's definitely, maybe he's not very lucky when it comes to relationships. I mean long-lasting relationships, right? Saturn just kind of closes him up. Like I said, he's not very good with his feelings, and this just kind of makes it a little bit worse. And this can also, Saturn in the 7th can also indicate that he has a preference for older women. or he has a preference with older women, or maybe like his partner, like his wife, is going to be older than him. Saturn kind of talks about being old, and I think he likes older women, or he will have a wife that's older. I also think that in Jungkook's life, there's gonna be a partner that he has, like a woman that he's gonna have a relationship with, or maybe more than one, but at least one, that is not gonna be very good for him. She's not gonna have his best interest at heart, and we're still here in the Saturn in the seventh. She's not gonna have his best interest at heart. She's definitely gonna do something to hurt him. And this Saturn is over here opposition with his Venus, so she's definitely gonna hurt his heart, like his love life. He's gonna be really, really, really sad about this thing, because it's here in the first house. The first house affects your whole life, so she's gonna hurt him, and he's gonna feel it a lot for a very long time. It's definitely gonna affect a lot of him, but we can grow. But Saturn is here always to give us a lesson. It's never here to just hurt us. It's here to make us grow, and he definitely needed something to happen for him to grow up in a way. Like, he has lessons to learn, like everybody, and this is one of his. I think it's really clear here in this chart. It usually is not that clear. Yes. And this just kind of ties in here with this Pluto. Just kind of makes him paranoid. Pluto in the third house can make someone a little bit paranoid. Like, what's gonna happen to me? I'm scared to be betrayed again. I'm scared someone's gonna treat me bad again. I think that's it. That's what's gonna happen to him. I think I've talked about everything. I haven't talked about this Jupiter over here in the fifth house. Well, just all of his planets over here. He has a lot of retrogrades, so this retrograde, this one too, and his Mercury, so definitely doesn't have a lot of, they are not working as well as they can be. He has a Jupiter retrograde in the fifth house, which is usually a good house to have Jupiter in. It's the house of fun, it's the house of children, it's the house of luck, and in general, Jupiter brings us luck. So he has his Jupiter retrograde, so that doesn't mean he's not lucky. It just means maybe his luck comes and goes, or maybe comes a bit slower than it should. I think he likes to have fun, it's in the house of fun. Maybe he wants to have a lot of kids. Maybe he wants some kids. I really don't know. That's just my predictions based on his chart. Yeah, that was it for Jungkook's chart. He has a very interesting chart. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something about him. I hope you enjoyed this video. And thank you so much for watching, and see you later.